Greetings. Jonathan Alexander here from the University of California, Irvine. And I want to talk a little bit today about ethos and rhetorical positioning. Now those sound like fancy terms, but they're relatively simple concepts, and they're probably ones that you already have a lot of familiarity with. So for instance, do you have a Facebook page? If this were a few years ago, I would be asking you if you have a MySpace page, but since it's 2014 when I'm recording this, I'm going to ask if you have a Facebook page and hope that that will do for the next couple of years. But anyway, a Facebook page is a way for you to say something about your identity, to express a sense of your likes, to catalog what you're interested in, to create and even maintain a social network. And how you construct that page, obviously within the constraints of the Facebook template, says something about you. The pictures that you chose to upload says something really important about what you want to say to other people about who you are. That's what we call rhetorical positioning. It's just a fancy term for how you communicate something about your own being in the world, who you are, what your identity is, what you value, what you appreciate, what you hold to be true. Any act of writing involves most times an act of rhetorical positioning. You saying who you are, what position you are writing from, what your stake is in writing about the thing that you're writing about, and what you claim to be true about it. So your assignments in this first unit, they're really all about exploring your own positionality, exploring who it is that you are, and how you can communicate that through writing. One of the main ways that people communicate about themselves is by establishing what the ancient Greeks called ethos, which is credibility, a sense of who it is that you are as a person. And there are a number of ways in which people do this in online spaces. We already talked a little bit about Facebook. Let's look at a couple of different rhetorical positionings and creation of ethos online. I'm going to direct your attention to Erika Hayasaki's home page. This is her website. She is a literary journalist in the Department of English here at UC Irvine, and she's a wonderful writer who's just written an amazing book called The Death Class, which is all about a course taught back east in which students are asked to think critically about what death means in a variety of different circumstances and how different people have approached what death means. And so for Erika, who is a practicing writer, she's a journalist. This is somebody who makes really her way in the world, her living through journalism. She has created her page to forefront her new book, The Death Class, and she includes media about it. She also includes information about herself as an author, and you can look and see how she lists all of the different ways in which she publishes in online spaces and in traditional print spaces, and she makes available to us some of her online presence through Twitter, for instance, but also through her own research. So this is a page in which she is really trying to give us a strong sense of herself as a professional. She is certainly marketing her book. She wants you to read it. After all, she is a journalist. She is deeply invested in you hearing about her ideas, and she's trying to make the page as interesting as possible. But a key component of that interest and the way she develops that interest is in not only giving us information about herself, but kind of keeping that space live with her own Twitter feed. So this is a way in which she's telling you that she's actively engaged in the world, asking us to think with her and to be attentive to her ideas. So it's a page from a very professional person. You're going to be asked to write your own professional statement, and I would direct you to Erika's commentary about herself, particularly how she lists not only her accomplishments, but how she also speaks a little personally about who she is and why she's deeply invested in writing. She, for instance, talks about herself as a volunteer writing mentor and teacher for teenage girls in Los Angeles. And it's that human element, right? Not just the professional, but that element that talks to her deep commitment as a person to her profession that really makes this profile pop. The other profile that I want you to spend a little bit of time looking at is much simpler, and it's a profile of David Lum, another journalist who writes in New York about technology, but also about how people inhabit strange locales. Very much interested in kind of the human uses of technology, how people use their technologies, but he's also spent a bit of time writing about the offbeat, the uncanny, and the weird, and the strange. You'll notice what's very simple about his page is that he links to the sources in which you can find some of his writing, but it's visually dominated by a picture of him. And I think that that's designed to complement one of his taglines. You see off to the right there, he says, "If you've got a story, I'll hear it." And so as a journalist, much like Erica, David is interested in hearing from other people and turning other people's stories into good writing, into good journalism. And so I think if he is interested in hearing your story, then it's important that he has given you his welcoming face, a visage of himself as somebody who is really interested and open and glad to hear from you. That's a way of building ethos. He's trying to connect his words with his image and how he presents himself and what he's interested in. So in these cases, both Erica and David, working writers, are providing you with a sense of their own rhetorical positioning. They're trying to give you a sense of the things that they are deeply invested in and interested in, and they have spent some time thinking about the design of their sites. David with his dominant image on his primary page, and then Erica with information about her book and her accomplishments to establish herself as a professional journalist. You might begin thinking about your own rhetorical positioning. Obviously, Erica and David are interested in getting their writing read. They're trying to not only generate interesting content for them to write about, but they want you to look at their writing. When you think about your own needs, your own goals for your own writing, you're going to want to consider to whom you are writing. What do you want them to know about yourself? That's why one of the first assignments we give you is this personal or professional writing statement, so that you can spend a little bit of time thinking critically about what you already know about yourself, maybe even discovering some things about yourself, but also thinking about what you want to say, how you want to position yourself, how you want to build your own ethos and credibility so that you can communicate important things about yourself to other people. It's that element of what we used to call audience, or what I like to refer to as publics. It's that element of the people that you want to reach and thinking about them. What do you want to communicate about yourself to them to attract their attention, to get them more interested in you? That's the goal of a personal or professional statement. And all of the assignments in Units 1 and 2 are really designed to get you thinking critically about how to construct a rhetorically effective, credible position statement about yourself, personally and professionally.